How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of UPbuild. So this one we're going to carry on working our Classic Mini Mk1 build. We've got quite a bit to get through. We've got door top to drop down, relocating the bonnet hinges to the Mk1 locations. We've got our subframe behind us, which is shot blasted. I'll show you through that. We're going to get it powder coated as well. And we're also going to spend a little bit of time strengthening that subframe up, making it a little bit better than standard, which I'll talk through the reasons why as well. We'll get that done in this episode. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll crack on. Right, fantastic. So that's the subframe all ready to go for powder coating in the morning, which we're going to get it sent to powder coaters and get the whole thing powder coated along with the back one as well. Just a quick explanation as to what I was doing there. So I've gone around all the seams and just added a little bit extra weld between the factory welds, just to sort of stiffen the subframe up a little bit, and it just helps to sort of take away any play. It'll make the subframe much stiffer and stronger when you're using it on the road and sort of like sort of having a bit more of a sort of sporty drive. Obviously that's when you'll tell the difference, when you're pushing on a little bit with it. And I've also added a couple of gussets on the front there just for the front tie bars or tie rods, just to stop any little bits of play in there as well. So that'll sort of obviously affect the positivity of the car and the steering as well. The reason why I haven't done continuous welds is because if you do a continuous weld, if something cracks, the whole weld can crack then. Obviously, you're only going to really notice these things when you're sort of pushing on a little bit, you know, sort of having a bit more of a sporty drive, which I like to do. And so I like the idea that it's going to be nice and stiff, the subframe. Obviously, the big thing as well is we're going to use solid mounts in mounting the subframe to the car, so that's when obviously that'll sort of come into play, really. All that bits of welding that I've done it really help out with that. So I mean, if you imagine basically the car, you have the shell of the car and then the subframe is attached to the shell of the car, and then you have the suspension which is then attached onto the subframe. And so by eliminating any play that you have between the subframe and the car, by means of, like what I've done, welding all those areas up, putting solid mounts between the subframe and the car, so then that keeps the sort of subframe and the car as one sort of almost solid piece, and then that allows the suspension then to do all of the movement and all of the geometry of the suspension that'll stay correct, rather than, you know, being altered by the subframe having any kind of play in it. Obviously that play will be very small, but it'll just, you know, give you that extra sort of positivity with the steering. You know, really nice positive steering. Same with accelerating and braking and cornering. It just will make a difference. Like I said, mostly when you're sort of, you know, pressing on a bit and having a bit more of a sort of sporty drive. But like I say, just for the little bit extra time it took me to do that, and it's just nice knowing it's actually done. And the subframe, it can be removed and put into something else at a later date if I want to put it into a track car, or and replace this subframe with something different in this Mini. I've always got this subframe, which I know is seam welded and also gusseted where it needs to be. There are some of the places I think where you can put bits of gusseting in, but I'm happy with what that looks like, and hopefully, like I say, that'll make a difference. But yeah, so that's the subframe. We'll get that powder coated tomorrow. The next thing, I'll have a bit of thinking. We'll crack on with that. Right then, so to start with, I'm going to start making this infill panel for the top of the door here. So, sorry about the noise, it's pouring down with rain on a tin roof. Yeah, so I'm going to, got the template here for us, which we kept from the other side, so just flip it around and use it on this side. I've just got the door sat in place, set up so that I can measure the gap, make sure I'm happy with it, and then start making the infill panel set up. Got it set in there. Right then, let's just give that a first fit. Right, I'd like to introduce you to the heaviest thing in the world. Our brute of an anvil. So I'm going to use it to start shaping this bottom infill piece, which is going to fit underneath that piece you've just seen us fit on top of the door there. Start curving these edges over. cracking stuff. So that's that piece shaped up so that at a point where I'm happy enough so that I can work on it off the car now. The reason why I've done that for is just so that I can take it off the car and weld it through the inside in the back of there, and then by doing that, when I put the sort of nice curve on the front, which is the bit you're going to see, I'll sort of lineage it back to the point where I've welded it on the inside, so it gets a nice sort of radius on the outside without obviously taking off my weld if I was just to weld it on the outside. So that's what I'm going to weld it on the inside, so that's the reason for obviously just tacking it on and then building it on the car to be able to take it back off again where I weld it on the inside now. What I'll do is to stop any heat distortion, because obviously you'll get loads of heat distortion in that. To be fair, I found this out on the other side and learnt my lesson from that. I didn't expect it to distort as much as it did, but it did. So I'm using 1.5mm to sort of try and prevent as much as I can, but I'm going to use a big lump of angle line in the vise. I'll have to cut it down possibly to size, but a big chunk of angle line I'll put in the vise, and then what I'll do is I'll clamp this piece down on the angle line, so then it helps to hold it straight, but then obviously disperses the heat as well. Right then, there we go. So, it looks like I made a bit of a mess. Unfortunately, what happened was, actually I'll give that a clean first. There we go. If you can see, it looks better. Yeah, so obviously as you can see, I've put a lot of extra welds in that, and the reason why was the attempts to try and prevent the distortion from the heat didn't really work. It didn't distort quite as much as the other side, but when I put the piece back up after welding the inside, it was probably a good sort of 8mm off that side. Basically that curve had just stepped this way about 8mm. It's just because it had twisted. It also twisted out, so it was kind of bowed ever so slightly, maybe sticking out on one side, maybe by another 3 or 4mm. So I just had to do what, as you can see, to put a load of relief cuts into it and put it back into shape, and then weld that up. A little bit of panel beating into shape as well. So you'll see in a second when I've linished all that back, you'll not notice that. You'll see that it all looks like one piece. It looks like just what it would be as bare steel from the factory. Obviously when the paint goes on, it'll have a little skim of glazing putty as well. But and yeah, these bits I've left the ends because I'm going to cut the shell and make them, or fit them up into the shell, so they'll like have a butt joint between where I weld them in. This bit on the front and that bit on the back. So I've left them pieces just until I do that, and then weld them and push that piece back and weld it in, but just so it follows the right profile of the door and everything. So anybody who hasn't watched previous videos, this is what a Mark 1 would have, and that's why I've put that in there. So a lot of people in the past have said, oh, it looked terrible because you put a big chunk of metal above the door. So I've mentioned this plenty of times, but that's how a Mark 1 should be. It has that piece of metal on the top of the door, and so that's why I'm doing it, because I'm making a Mark 1, and to make the Mark 1 doors fit, obviously it has that gap at the top, and to make it right like a Mark 1, it has to have that piece of metal at the top. There's another video which I'll maybe put a link in just up in the top corner of the screen, just to show the comparisons between a genuine Mark 1 and this in the video. Yeah, anyway, that's cracking. That's brilliant. Right then, okay, so I've gotten hold of a Mark 1 bonnet, just as a bit of a template for where we're going to start relocating the hinges. So you can see this one, actually I'll put it on the bench first. So you can see obviously where it's been used on a Mark 3, 4 or 5 I would imagine. Or it has been used on a Mark 3, 4 or 5, because these are the locations of the newer hinges, and you can see on the inside we've got the locations of the Mark 1, and I think Mark 2s will probably be in here as well. Not 100% sure. The Mark 2 front end is much the same as all the rest of the Minis, but still retains the external hinges. So I'm not sure about Mark 2s whether they are there, but anyway, so this is the location which we need to move them into. So at the moment on the car, this is where they are, where you can see this bonnet has been modified. Quite an unusual thing to see a Mark 1 bonnet used for a newer car, because they'll be quite rare, these. But yeah, so I'm going to use this as a template, and I'm going to start relocating the hinges, and I'll show you how I'll do that now. Right, so here we are under the bonnet, or in the bonnet area. So this is the standard hinge locations at the moment, and so I need to get in, cut these hinges off the bulkhead, attach them to the bonnet on the Mark 1 bonnet there, sit the Mark 1 bonnet on, and then get them held up against the bulkhead to see where they're going to sit, and then tack them on the bulkhead. And so that's going to be tricky obviously, because the scuttle panel is going to be in the way when the Mark 1 bonnet's sat on here, so we'll have to work around that. But like I say, you'll see how I do that now. Great then, that's created a bit of space just to get the hinges out. I have to drill the spot welds out. Looking at it, I think it's going to be easier drilling them out from the inside. It's hard to see exactly where the spot welds are on the inside here. So I'll show you what I mean. There we go. So as you can see, it's quite difficult to tell where the spot welded there. You can see there's one just below my finger there.
One there, one there, one there, one there. Right, so we get the drill out, done on both sides.
Right then, that's that shot blasted. So I'll give you a quick walk around it. See, it's come up very nicely indeed. Very happy with that. Nicely going around all the areas that I've welded as well, like so the gussets and the welded areas, just to give it a bit better area for the powder coating to attach to. Gives it a better surface. So just need to get it powder coated now. If only it was as easy as flicking your fingers. Now let's try anyway. Wow. And they're done. Fantastic. Obviously they're not new subframes, so you can't expect them being absolutely perfect, but I'm pleased with those. Very happy with them. And the gussets on the side, which I put in. Yeah, that's great. I've got the back one as well, which is just outside. So really happy with them. So it was Jim from Drover's Forge, if anyone knows the area well. He did them, and he was very reasonable. Did them actually straight away for us because we ran a little bit short on time, and so I definitely advise you to check them out if you want to do any powder coating. I'm not sure about what the varieties of colours are and that sort of thing, but definitely pop in and give him a shout if you need any powder coating done, because he's done a great job for us. Really happy that we'll be getting some more bits done. But yeah, check him out. There we go. There's the back one. So anyway, happy with them. Right, fantastic. Back to these bonnet hinges again, just from earlier on there. So I've given them all a good shot blast. You just cannot beat the finish when you shot blast. Just the best way of getting rid of the old paint and rust. Just does a great job. Just look like new panels, you know. Just put a little shot of zinc primer on them. They'll need a bit of epoxy primer and then top coat on them obviously as well. And we'll grease the hinges up themselves inside. I suppose could have stripped them down completely, but I'm happy enough that if we put plenty of grease in there, they'll preserve nicely. Anyway, yeah, so that's for relocating a bit further in, like we were saying, somewhere like that. But stay right. I have to apologise. I'm really sorry. We've run out of time. I was hoping obviously to get them on for you and show you how we're going to do that. That's going to be in the next episode now. Everything takes so long, and if I don't get the video or the information, the footage that I've got uploaded, we'll not have a video on for you to see. So a huge thanks for everyone who's watched. Really appreciate it. Genuinely really appreciate the views and everyone supporting us, commenting. Don't forget as well, definitely give us a thumbs up. Really appreciate the thumbs up, and it helps us an awful lot. And like I'm saying, my dad hasn't been here much obviously, or at all hardly in this episode. So just difficult with the COVID situations and being able to work together. So hopefully he'll be able to be with us and be working with us soon. Maybe he's in the next episode, I hope. Maybe do a little bit like we did in the last one, where I'll give him the camera and he'll be able to do a few bits. He has done bits. He's actually been working on the rear subframes, and he's done most of the shot blasting on them, and that's great. So we're getting them all sorted. But yeah, massive thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, or a like, and then also subscribe. Consider subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate the subscribers, and then everyone who has subscribed and who continues to watch the build. Really genuinely really appreciate it. Thanks very much for sticking with us, and hopefully we'll try and do as much as we can for each episode. Try and get plenty in it, so there's plenty to see, like it has been in this one. A little bit more to see in this one, getting quite a few things to show you. We'll continue to do that. And if you haven't subscribed, if you're new to the channel, or if you haven't seen us before, have a look over some of the previous videos. It'll get you up to date to where we are, and consider subscribing and hit the notification bell. I know a lot of people are struggling at the minute with knowing when there's new episodes of of the channels out, because sometimes it doesn't work very well. So hit the notification bell, and that'll notify you when we put a new episode out. That's something else to do. Yeah, anyway, yes, that's gonna be it for this one. Thanks again, and take care everyone, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.